Well, hello again. Well, it's a rare Newcastle United defeat we've come to reflect on here tonight. And for those of you who weren't at the game, well, here's a little, just a little scan of what is by now an empty St James's, and all of the build-up, all of the noise, the flags, the colour, the scarves. It was everything we thought it would be, really. And it was a tremendous occasion. I thought it was a breathless match in which both teams were sort of wonderfully committed to the entertainment. I thought it was a fantastic advert for the Premier League, and in the end, even though viewers of this channel might disagree, I don't know, I thought it probably had the deserved outcome in terms of the winners as well. Now, I wasn't saying that after 8 minutes, absolutely not. Now, in the preview video, I'd said that I thought Newcastle would fly out of the traps. More than that, I said I thought they would go on and beat Arsenal. Now, just behind us there in the press benches, I was sat with my colleague Daniel Matthews, who covers Arsenal week on week, and after 5, 6, 7 minutes, we were saying Arsenal's title bid ends here. This is it today. You know, you're already drafting intros saying there's been a second coronation of the weekend and Manchester City are the champions. Newcastle were fantastic during that opening period. Arsenal looked like Spurs. You know, it was Spurs all over from 2 weeks ago, just minus the goals, really. Arsenal were on the ropes, had absolutely no answers as to how to repel Newcastle, and then Newcastle won a penalty. Now, if ever a team conceding a penalty needed that, it was Arsenal there today. Now, I say that because obviously ultimately it was overturned, but they needed a breather. They were absolutely gasping for air. You know, Murphy had already hit the post. Isak had one deflected wide. Newcastle were tearing them to pieces. Then along came the penalty and the subsequent break, that 2-minute break in play while Chris Kavanagh went over at the monitor there on the far side and tried to determine whether it had hit the defender's arm. That was what Arsenal needed to fill up on air again after only 5 minutes. Just down in front of us, Martin Odegaard came over to the touchline and said, "My mouth, it's dry," and he was asking the technical staff for water. So that just shows you where Arsenal were during that opening period. We've then got the break for the penalty, and we're looking at little replays on the monitors in the press box, so please forgive me, I haven't seen it back properly yet. I like to see it on Match of the Day later. My initial reaction was penalty, and there's not enough evidence to overturn this, and I think I tweeted as much at the time. Now, I've since seen a replay, and again, albeit on a quite small monitor, and it definitely looks as if it hits the defender's thigh first and bounces up onto his hand. Now, because of that, they were right to overturn it, and I may stand corrected on that, but that is my take as we stand with it now. Now, from that point onwards, I thought Arsenal were the better team. I thought they managed the game better. I thought they were more clinical. They certainly won the midfield battle, and we'll come on to that because I think that's significant. And the question I asked of Eddie afterwards was, on reflection, would you probably not have wanted the penalty? Was that the moment the game swung in Arsenal's favour? And he said, yeah, absolutely. It had a negative impact on his team psychologically. And it's strange how these things work. But yes, sometimes players just can't get over disappointment. And one player who seemed really affected by it was Joe Linton, who's been tremendous in recent weeks, and I thought he was the one who could perhaps get about a slightly pedestrian Arsenal midfield today. The likes of Jorginho and Xhaka, who maybe haven't got the legs and that physicality that he has, but he seemed really bothered by that. He was harping on with the officials, 5, 10, 15 minutes later, and in his mind seemed to go, Bruno alongside him probably had one of his worst games in black and white in terms of that end product. He didn't have a good afternoon at all. Joe Willock did okay, but I certainly thought the midfield battle in terms of Odegaard, Xhaka and Jorginho was where Arsenal ultimately won the game after that point, and I thought Martin Odegaard was tremendous. Now, for all of that, Newcastle didn't play badly. When you come to reflect, you think they've created chances. They've had the brilliant start. You wouldn't question the application. But then I've just come to do my merit marks there, and I thought there was a lot of individual poor performances. Shaw and Botman at the back, there was 2 or 3 occasions where Arsenal just cut through them, and it was rather alarming from a Newcastle perspective. Dan Burn, I had 1 or 2 problems, I thought the midfield were poor. I'll go as far as to say poor. Wilson was quiet. He's looked better off the bench than he did starting there today. I thought Isak was good and was probably Newcastle's best threat, and Murphy had moments, but it was probably inevitable he was going to be taken off. And I have to say, at the point where they made the changes and the changes started coming. If anything, I thought that disrupted Newcastle. I didn't think they were playing poorly, as I said. They were getting a lot of joy over Isak on the left there against Ben White. They were still creating the openings at 1-0 when the subs came, and then of course Martinelli, the Leazer's end there behind us, is allowed to run unopposed into the box. It's poor defending again. I didn't think Newcastle were at the usual standard today defensively. The cross goes in off a tired Shaw leg, and probably from that point on you never really expect Newcastle to come back into it. Now, did the decision to start with Isak and Wilson together for the first time, did it backfire? No, I think it would be harsh to say that. I was calling before the game, and I think for that to be the case, and I think it was the right decision. But of course, what you lose by starting Wilson and Isak together is the ability to bring one of them on to finish the match with both of them on the pitch together. And shooting, we've seen in recent weeks, haven't we, shooting downhill towards the Gallagher end in the second half when you bring one of them on, and the boost that gives the team and each other and the crowd as well. That is the opportunity cost by both them being in the starting 11. But nonetheless, I wouldn't lay the blame for any defeat at the door of that decision. Absolutely not. And I go back to the point that Newcastle played well. Again, they've competed with a team. This is an Arsenal team who are still in the title race. There was absolutely no shame in losing 2-0 to them today. And thankfully, from Newcastle's perspective, we've seen the subsequent result down at West Ham mean that they come out of the weekend still in third position, and their destiny is absolutely still in their hands. And 4 games to play now, and I fully expect them to get the 6 or 7 points they need to make sure of that Champions League position. But nonetheless, Liverpool's victory last night, coupled with this result here, does mean there still is work to do. Now, little newsy items to emerge from today. It looks like Sean Longstaff, we're probably not going to see him, I don't think, for the rest of the season. And that's a blow. That would be a concern, because I just think the balance of the team with Longstaff in it and what he gives you in terms of what the midfield at times for me was lacking there today, the protection Longstaff affords the back four and some of that unforeseen running and defensive work that it perhaps does is keenly felt when he's out of the team, and that showed certainly by the manner in which Botman and Burn were exposed on a couple of occasions, as I touched on earlier. And perhaps that does just bring home the needs going forward in the summer for Newcastle to put a little bit more pace into that back four. They're not blessed with players with a lightning turn of foot there, and that the way in which Martinelli and Saka in particular bursting behind on a few occasions did probably expose that. And because of that, they needed Nick Pope on more than one occasion, didn't they? I mean, Arsenal were unfortunate, really, come the end, not to be 4-0 up by half time. Now, 4-0 in these parts for Arsenal is a pretty dangerous scoreline, so it was probably best that they didn't lead by that number after 45 minutes. But nonetheless, I thought, even though Nick Pope for Martin Odegaard's opener, you can question, did he get down quick enough? I don't know. I've seen that was my initial thought on watching a replay back. I think it's a really clean, true, zippy strike, and it would probably be unfair to blame Pope for that, I think. But there's no doubting that he was the reason Newcastle were still in the game after that, and the concern would be the amount of chances they did give up. But the flip side of that is Aaron Ramsdale also had a good game, and Newcastle started the second half exactly how they did started the first. Isak hits the post with a header. Fabian Schär should score from the position he's in, and it's a good save by Ramsdale. But you've probably got to say Schär's also got to get it down into one of the bottom corners there. And if they do score, then and you've got the noise and you're shooting downhill towards the Gallagher, Newcastle in the second half there might be a different outcome. Now, I know a lot of Newcastle supporters will be riled by the dark arts of Arsenal, and the way Aaron Ramsdale was measuring a goal kick after 4 minutes there as if he was sizing a putt to win the Masters. Really was quite something, given the all of the angst there was in the reverse fixture down at the Emirates, when Newcastle employed those tactics. Personally, I've got absolutely no problem with it. That is football. As one of my colleagues said afterwards in the press conference, one man's time wasting is another man's game management, and that's pretty much why I come at it too. So no, fair play to Arsenal from a neutral perspective going forward for the league. At least it keeps that title race alive. And you've seen the improvement in Arsenal 12 months ago when Newcastle were 2-0 winners here, and it blew apart their top four challenge. You know, they've really improved for that in terms of resilience, the know-how, the game management, all the rest. And I suppose that's got to be the challenge for Newcastle. You know, now when they come to play Arsenal 12 months down the line, if they're taking the next step, if they've gone onto a team who potentially might be in with a shout of the title. So yeah, I wouldn't be, if I was in Newcastle, you know, from a Newcastle perspective, I wouldn't be too disheartened after that. But nonetheless, it was just a little reminder as to that gap that I think still does exist between the teams in third and fourth and the top two in the division. So yeah, it's down to Leeds next Saturday. I'll be there. Newcastle, Leeds, Big Sam, relegation, top four, Champions League, all the rest of it. It promises to be another belt. Like I must say, I did enjoy that game there today. I thought it was, I think I said at the top there, didn't I? Breathless, brilliant to write about. Really, really enjoyable. And I hope you guys did too, even though most of you are Newcastle fans and probably didn't enjoy the outcome too much. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video as well. Thanks again for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'll be back later in the week. Look ahead to Leeds, and click on the links below as well, which will take you through to my match report. Okay, take care guys. See you soon. Bye bye.